I came home at 7, tossed my keys in the bowl by the door, and found Lauren on the couch, half curled under a gray throw, eyes glued to a drama she'd been binging for weeks. No hello, no glance. I stepped behind the couch and put a hand on her shoulder. Simple habit, nothing dramatic. She flinched and peeled my hand off like I was a stranger. Don't touch me today. I'm not in the mood. You haven't been in the mood for weeks. She shrugged without looking up. Then try next month. If I'd known where that line was headed, I'd have saved the receipt on every apology dinner I ever paid for. I went to the kitchen and opened the fridge. The groceries I'd picked up on my lunch break were still in their bags. I'd planned lemon chicken, salad, one of those bakery pies she liked. The plan died on the counter. I set the bags down and stood there long enough to hear laughter from the TV that wasn't for me. Lauren, I called back. We eating together or what? I already ate at work, she said. Don't wait on me. Right? I said to the rotisserie chicken that I now owned entirely. Romance Wednesday for one. I ate alone at the island, cleaned up, and set my alarm early to hit the gym. She came to bed past midnight and lay down like we were separated by a wall no contractor could help me with. I didn't chase. I already knew the price of chasing. A new rule, and then another. The next weekend, I doubled down anyway. I booked a table at a small place by the river, got flowers delivered to her office, and texted, 7 sharp. Dress how you like. I'll meet you outside. She replied with a thumbs up. No words. The night went the way cold nights go. She talked about her coworker's dog and her neighbor's remodel. I asked how she was sleeping and got, fine. When the server refilled our water, Lauren leaned in. You're trying too hard. Trying, I said, because we used to like each other. That's not a plan. It's clingy. I set my napkin down. I'm not clinging. I'm checking if there's a pulse. Let me breathe, she said, and looked over my shoulder at nothing in particular. Done, I answered. Breathing granted. On the drive home, I made the first change. No announcement. I moved my calendar blocks. The standing Thursday date I kept inventing? Cancelled. Saturday mornings together? Off the board. I told her on the way up the stairs. From now on, I said, I'm not scheduling anything you can't show up to. She paused on the step. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm not dragging a dead horse up a hill. If you want in, you'll knock. I didn't ask for your program. Perfect, I said, and went to my office. The next week looked different. I worked longer hours, hit the gym earlier, ate dinner when it made sense for me, and stopped offering commentary. No door slams. No speeches. Just the new shape. She noticed by day 3. You're not around, she said from the hallway, like I'd broken curfew. I'm around for people who are around, I told her. That's passive-aggressive. It's a schedule. She stared like she wanted the old dance, then let it go. That Friday, she placed a mug of coffee on my desk before I left for work. I know you like it black, she said, and looked at the mug instead of me. Sorry I've been distant. I've got a lot on my mind. Okay. She wanted a ribbon. I heard you, I said. Doors open when you want to actually be in the same room. That was the first soft turn. Light apology. A breadcrumb. I kept my distance and let it sit. 2 nights later, she surprised me. I came home to music playing low, candles lit in the dining room, actual food on actual plates. Lauren stood by the counter in a navy dress I hadn't seen in a year. The table looked like a magazine spread pretending to be our marriage. You cooked, I said. Don't act so stunned. She smirked. I can do nice. I'll never argue with nice. She poured wine and clinked my glass. To trying again. Real trying. It was smoother than any apology I'd imagined. She asked about my day, laughed at a story about my coworker Dan breaking a chair in the conference room, and tapped my arm when the punchline landed. She was warm, present, almost the woman I married. I let myself exhale a little. I didn't forget the cold. I shelved it like you shelve a bad week when a good one shows up. Halfway through dessert, a pause. Her eyes shifted. I know that look, gears changing. There's something I've been thinking about, she started too casually. About us. Go on. We've been together a while. People evolve. Needs evolve. I can evolve. Give me a manual. She rolled the stem of her glass between 2 fingers. I want us to be more flexible. Flexible how? With options, she said, light as dust. Variety. Some breathing room. I watched her choose words like stepping stones. I'm not following, I said, and I made sure my face gave her nothing. Let her land the plane she'd been circling. Okay, she exhaled, eyes on me now. I want to see other people. And keep us. In a structured way. With rules. No, I said. Not a shout. A lever pulled. Her smile froze then dropped. You didn't even let me finish. You were done. That's a no. Mark, I heard. I want to see other people and keep you. My answer is no. This could make us stronger. That sentence doesn't clear inspection. You're being closed-minded. I'm being clear, I said, and set my napkin down. If that's your plan, I'm not in it. She stared at me like I'd failed a test I didn't sign up for. Then she pushed her chair back, scraped the wood, and stood. Fine. She walked down the hall. Bedroom door. Quiet. I blew out the candles, stacked plates, and scrubbed the pan because it was something that responded to effort. The next morning, she acted like I'd knocked over a tower she'd built. No small talk. No coffee on my desk. We were back to the cold she could run on for weeks. I didn't chase. That switch was welded off. The invite to Nate and Kelly's backyard thing came a few days later. Casual. Burgers, games, people we'd known since our 20s. I almost skipped. Then I decided a neutral crowd would be a perfect place to draw a clean line if I needed one. Foreign territory, good for boundaries. Kelly met us at the gate. There you are. Drinks in the cooler. Food in an hour. Lauren peeled off to a cluster of her friends by the fire table. I grabbed a bottle of sparkling water and found Nate by the grill. How's married life? He asked, flipping chicken like he meant it. It's busy, I said. That a diplomatic answer? Best I've got. Across the yard, Lauren laughed too loud at something. Hair tossed, eyes scanning who noticed. She didn't look at me. Her friend Shauna leaned in, covered her mouth, whispered. Lauren nodded and said something with a smile that didn't reach me. I took a sip. Dan from work showed up with his wife Jenna. Hey man, you good? I'm upright. He studied my face. You doing that thing where you keep the lid on until the pot bends? I'm done bending, I told him. An hour in, I joined a circle near the fire where Lauren stood with Shauna and two others. I caught the tail end of a sentence. And some men think they get to control the oxygen in a room, Lauren was saying. Everything is rules. Who are we dragging? Someone asked. Lauren gestured casually toward me without turning her head. Mr. Traditional over there. He gets anxious if I suggest variety. A giggle from Shauna. Variety is healthy, she said, loud enough. I stepped into the circle. You really want to workshop our dinner conversation here? Lauren didn't flinch. I'm being honest with my friends. Usually honesty doesn't require a stage. She tilted her head. See? That tone. He's so careful, I cut in. Pick the right word. Jealous, Shauna offered, like a helpful audience member. Thanks for the note, I said. Lauren, are you actually trying to roast me because I won't sign off on you auditioning other guys while keeping the house key? Her smile turned into that little smirk she used when she felt like she had me pinned. If you were secure, you wouldn't feel threatened by harmless freedom. So here's what we're not doing, I said, voice steady so it carried without raising it. We're not pretending a request to split our attention is noble, and we're not turning my boundary into a punchline. A couple of people got very interested in their cups. Shauna crossed her arms. You policing my choices? Lauren asked, chin up. No, I said. I'm making mine. You want endless options? Great. I'll help. Finally, she said, smiling like she'd won something. I'm serious, I added. If you're itching for that, I'll grant your wish. Her friends cheered like they'd just witnessed a breakthrough. I'm filing for divorce, I finished. Enjoy your open life. The cheer cut off like the speaker unplugged. Someone coughed. Lauren blinked. You're not serious, she said. I don't bluff. I'll grab a car. You stay, celebrate. I'm done. I nodded to Nate on my way out. He grabbed my arm. You good to drive? I'm fine. And I'm clear. In the car, I didn't rage. I made a list. Key items have deadlines. I slept at home, alone in the guest room, and set my alarm early. By 11 the next morning, her half of the closet was boxed and labeled. I stacked the boxes by the front door, left her shoes on top so she'd see the care taken, and texted, Your things are by the door. Pick up today by 6. I'll be out. No argument. No plea. I drove to a branch and closed the shared card I'd stupidly left open for household stuff. Separate accounts were already a thing. We never fully merged finances, but I cut the lingering cord. Then I walked into a law office Dan had recommended, because acting beats stewing. The receptionist looked up. Appointment. Walk in, I said. I'm Mark Bennett. I need to end a marriage cleanly. By 2 o'clock, I had a checklist and a file started. I forwarded the retainer. On the drive home, Kelly texted, "Everything okay? Last night got weird." "It got clear," I replied. "You'll hear versions. Here's mine. I'm not sharing my relationship. I'm out." At 5:30, I pulled into the driveway. The boxes were gone. No notes. No drama. Just absence. It was almost a relief. I changed the code on the garage and set new ground rules in my head. No more explaining my choices to someone committed to not listening. The rest of the week, I kept my routines tight. Work, gym, sleep. I didn't stalk her social media. I deleted her from my favorites and left the hole unfilled. Holes remind you what you won't tolerate next time. A week later, Dan dragged me to O'Malley's, a neighborhood bar that wasn't about proving anything, just with tables and old songs. I wasn't in the mood for company. I went anyway. A man who only keeps his own company after a breakup starts talking to himself. We grabbed a spot at the end. The bartender, Lex, nodded. "Haven't seen you in a while." "I've been domestic," I said. Briefly, Dan raised his glass. "To undomesticating." Not a word. I told him, but I clinked. We were half an hour into trash talk about football when I saw her. Emily, Lauren's younger sister. I'd met her at holidays and birthdays. She was the opposite of Lauren in all the ways that matter. Straight shooter, quick with a joke that didn't draw blood, eyes that actually landed when you spoke. She stood by the jukebox, scrolling choices alone. I got up before I could think about optics. "Emily." She turned, surprised, then smiled. "Mark." "Wow. Hi. You out on a school night?" "Parole," I said. "Judge's orders." She laughed. "Where's Lauren?" "Not with me," I answered. "How are you?" Her smile dimmed. I heard there was something. Lauren's been vague. "You look okay." "I am okay," I told her. "It's been a week of decisions." "You want to sit?" she asked, tilting her head toward a two-top in the corner. "I can rescue you from Dan's sports opinions." "Please," I said. "He thinks every quarterback is underpaid." She grinned and led the way. We sat. The first 5 minutes were catching up, her new project at work, my team reorganizing. Then she leaned in. "Can I ask? If it's off limits, say so." "Ask." "What happened?" "Lauren said you overreacted to a conversation and stormed out of a party." "Which doesn't sound like you." "She asked for something I don't do," I said. "She wanted to keep our home and sample. With rules." My answer was no. She tried to float that at Nate and Kelly's like a TED Talk. So I canceled her plan. Emily's eyebrows climbed. "She said that? In front of people?" She warmed up for it at home with a candlelit performance. "I'm not a prop." Emily sat back, processing. "That's not wow? Okay. She'll have a version," I added. "I'm not here to recruit you. You're her sister." "I'm also a person who knows you didn't deserve that," she said. "You've always been solid." That a compliment or a Midwestern insult? "A compliment," she smiled. "You're steady. I always liked that about you." We ordered nachos and didn't touch them for 20 minutes because we were talking. Not heavy therapy talk, just normal things that had been missing. Halfway through, Lex swung by. "Another round?" "Water for me," I said. "I've got an early gym." Emily lifted her glass. "Same." Lex wandered off. Emily looked at me with a mix of curiosity and caution. "So you're really done?" I filed, I said. "It's moving. I don't chase people who want to be elsewhere." She nodded slowly. "Good." We ended up closing the place down by accident. Dan waved goodnight. Emily and I stood outside under the kind of streetlight that makes you feel like a movie extra. She hugged me, simple, not loaded, and said, "I'm glad I ran into you." Then she paused. "If this is weird because of the family thing, say so. I can keep my distance." "It's not weird to talk," I said. "Talking's allowed." "Good," she said, eyes steady. "Because I'd like to keep doing it." We did. Next evening turned into coffee at a crowded spot near the park. The night after that became tacos from a truck and a walk past the baseball fields. We didn't design it. It just kept happening. Emily didn't tiptoe around the divorce. She also didn't make it the only thing in the room. That balance is rare. After a week, I gave her a spare key. Not a grand gesture, just logistics. She picked up groceries like it was automatic, left a note on the counter that said, "Got the eggs. You're out of paper towels." By the second week, we stopped pretending it was nothing. The energy changed. She sat closer. I let my hand rest on hers across the booth and didn't do that quick pullback you do when you still feel owned by an old story. "Is this crossing a line?" I asked one night on my porch, a plate of takeout between us. "Which line?" she asked. "The polite one where we're just friends." She smiled without apology. "I crossed at the minute I said yes today too." I laughed. "Good. I thought I was imagining things." "You weren't," she said. "And I'm not here to compare myself to anyone. I know who I am." "I noticed," I told her. "It's attractive." She squeezed my hand once and let go. "Then stop asking permission from ghosts." Message received. A month went by quick. Paperwork does what paperwork does if you don't play games with it. Lauren didn't contest anything, didn't ask for a thing, didn't show up for a last speech. She just signed what needed signing and returned it like a cold business transaction. The day the final confirmation came through, I was standing in the kitchen with Emily splitting an orange. "Done," I said, looking at my phone. She looked up. "You okay?" "Free," I answered. Different word. "Then let's make breakfast like free people," she said, and bumped my hip with hers. We moved around the kitchen without getting in each other's way. I'd slipped into a better life without planning it like a project. Work felt lighter. The house felt like a home again. I went to the hardware store for things I wanted instead of things I hoped would impress someone who didn't look. And, yeah, I bought a ring. I kept it in the top drawer under a stack of gym socks because I'm not superstitious, but also not careless. I wasn't going to rush Emily, but I knew where I was headed. Then the doorbell rang at 8:30 on a Saturday. Early for visitors, late for deliveries. I wiped my hands, walked to the door, and opened it. Lauren stood there like she'd misplaced a scarf and came to retrieve it. No apology face. No nerves. Just entitlement and nice shoes. "Hey," she said, like we spoke yesterday. "You going to let me in?" "No," I said, not moving. "What do you want?" She huffed a little laugh. "You're not going to invite me into my own house." "Not yours," I said. "And we're not doing the amnesia bit." "Mark, come on. Don't make this hostile. I came to talk." "We don't have anything to talk about." She put a hand on the door to keep me from closing it. "I'm trying to be civil. What is going on with you? You burned the bridge, watched it burn, and moved to the other side. Now you're surprised there's water." "I'm not here for drama. I'm here to fix." From the kitchen, Emily's voice. "Babe, do you want raspberries or blueberries?" Lauren's head snapped past my shoulder. Emily walked into view, wiped her hands on a dish towel, and saw us. No flinch. No panic. She stepped to my side and looped an arm around my waist like we were exactly what we are. "This man is taken," Emily said calmly. "By me. Morning, sis." Lauren's composure cracked. "You have got to be kidding me." "No," I said. She pointed at Emily. "You? How could you do this to your own family?" Emily didn't blink. "Family doesn't mean I endorse bad behavior." Lauren turned on me. "And you what? You too this whole time?" "While we were." I held up a hand. "Careful with your timeline. Nothing started until after you and I were officially over. You signed, remember? You were done. You replaced me with my sister." "No," I said. "I stopped being with someone who wanted to treat me like a backup plan. Later, I chose someone who actually shows up." She scoffed. "This is disgusting." "Then it'll be easy for you to leave," I said, and went to close the door. She jammed her foot in the frame. "Wait, we can still talk about us. If you needed adjustments, we could have figured it out without making it this." "This?" I echoed. "You mean me taking you at your word and acting accordingly? You wanted multiple tracks. I gave you yours and took mine." She looked past me at Emily. Voice went sharp. "You think you can just take my life? My home? My—" Emily laughed once. Not cruel, just done. "That wasn't your life anymore. It was a stage set for your next experiment." Lauren's face flushed with anger I'd seen 100 times. "You'll regret this," she snapped at me. "Both of you. People will hear about what you did." "Close the door," Emily murmured. I did. Firm, not theatrical. Through the wood, Lauren shouted something about how I'd pay, and that she'd tell everyone the truth. Then silence. Then her car starting. Then nothing. By lunch, the phone started buzzing. A cousin. An old neighbor. "Kelly." Variations of Lauren posted something. I checked once because I like to know the terrain. Her version said I'd been emotionally absent for years and that I ran off with her sister behind her back. She wrapped it in self-help phrases and lit it on fire. I don't do online wars. I make statements and let them stand. But this was one of those times when silence creates a vacuum and cowards love vacuums. So I opened my account and posted 3 paragraphs anyone could screenshot and pass along. Here's the plain version. I wrote, Lauren asked to restructure our marriage to include other partners while keeping our home. I declined. She presented the idea publicly at a party. I set a boundary and filed. Paperwork moved without dispute. Months later, after everything was final, Emily and I started seeing each other. If anyone wants receipts, I have dates, messages, and documents. Not here. For those, call me. If you're inclined to pick sides, pick respect. I named no names beyond our own. No insults. Just facts. Emily read it over my shoulder and nodded. Dan texted a minute later. Perfect. Clean. Done. Nate chimed in. You didn't know anyone that, but I'm glad you posted it. The comments stacked. People have memories. People saw the party. People knew Lauren's appetite for public performance. Her story didn't hold water. 2 days later, she deleted her post and put up something vague about moving forward. Then she actually moved, to a different city a few weeks after that, according to Kelly. I didn't gloat. I didn't throw a party. I built shelves in the garage and took Emily to dinner at a place where the server remembered her name by the second visit. Life returned to its right size. I started sleeping like a human. We met friends on Fridays, not to pour out pain, but to share jokes and argue about grilled versus smoked. Emily fit everywhere. My friends, my rhythms, the quiet hours. I didn't have to audition for her attention. I had it because I earned it and because she wanted to give it. One night on the couch, she leaned into me, legs tucked, and said, I've been thinking. That's become a theme. She smiled. We've fallen into a habit. Breakfasts, gym runs, groceries. It feels like a home. It does. So let's call it what it is, she said. Be with me. For real. No caveats. No experiments. I laughed once, not at her but at the timing. I was going to ask you the same thing today. I didn't get the words right in my head yet. Good, she said. I like when we match. I got up, went to the bedroom, opened the top drawer, and came back with a small box. She blinked. You were not kidding, she said. I don't kid about this, I told her, and knelt, not for performance, but for clarity. Emily, be my partner. All in. Marry me. She covered her mouth, then dropped her hands and met my eyes. Yes, because you didn't flinch when it was hard. Because you didn't trade your standards for attention. We didn't post anything that night. We called the people who mattered and told them ourselves. Kelly cried happy tears. Dan tried to play it cool and failed. My mom said, you sound like you. That line landed hard. If there's a moral, it's not complicated. When someone is cold to you for weeks and then turns up the heat to sell you a plan that benefits only them, believe the pattern, not the performance. Set a boundary where others can hear it. Follow through. Don't confuse quiet with weak. Quiet is a plan moving. There's one more thing. The day after the ring, I got a text from an unknown number. You'll regret this. No name. No threat that would require a cop. Just the same vague promise of doom you hear when someone loses the script. I typed a reply and erased it. I typed another and erased that, too. Then I put my phone down and walked to the garage to measure a piece of lumber I'd been avoiding for weeks. Progress is loud if you're the one making it. Our home is simple now. The house hums at a frequency that doesn't make my shoulders tighten when I walk through the door. Emily's laughter comes from the kitchen at random times. Saturday mornings are ours, not slots I beg for approval to fill. We plan a wedding that looks like us. Backyard, good food, short speeches, people who mean it. I drive a truck I chose because I like it, not because it looks good in someone else's retellings. My friends come over and stay late. I work better. I lift heavier. I sleep. As for Lauren, I hear bits. She got a small place across state lines, changed her hair, posted quotes about freedom for a while, then pivoted to posts about finding oneself. People do what they need to do to not look at a mirror. I don't check her page. If someone mentions it, I let the information pass like weather. She'll land somewhere. We all do. The last time Nate and I talked about the night at his place, he asked, "You ever think about calling her to get closure?" "I didn't lose closure," I said. "I gained it. It's stamped and filed." He chuckled. "Fair. I don't do open tabs," I added. "Not in my house. Not in my head." He lifted his glass. "To closed tabs. To real things," I said, and went home to the person who understands that word. That's the whole truth. Not dressed up. Not softened. She wanted options while keeping me as a constant. I wanted respect. We both got what we chose. She left with her boxes and her audience. I stayed with my standards and a woman who values them. When the door closed that morning with her on the porch and Emily beside me, that was the point where the story stopped being a fight and started being a life. People think strength is loud. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's telling a crowd, calmly, "We're done here," and leaving before they decide how they feel about it. Sometimes it's stacking boxes by a door at 11 a.m. and changing a code and moving on. Sometimes it's saying no to a pretty plan that empties you out. And sometimes it's opening a ring box in a quiet living room, with scrambled eggs cooling on the stove, asking the one person who didn't make you audition, "Be with me," and hearing yes.